All right, DJ LeRoy.
NightWatchman, how are you, man?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, good. So, you know what, NightWatchman? Certainly since lockdown, a lot of stuff has been said about in terms of jobs, because some have gone away with the lockdown. Some have also returned in, let's say, a slightly different mode in terms of being able to work remotely. You know what? I want to talk to some professionals who may have a clue in terms of where they may even see, let's say, jobs, the industry going, and also maybe preparing people for the future. What do you say?
Let's bring them on.
You know what? Let's do that. So I think our first guest is a guy who's been here before. He knows Soul Lounge Primetime. He is none other than the executive director of the Manhattan Educational Opportunity Center, Mr. Anthony Watson. What's up, Anthony?
What's going on? What's going on, fellas? How you doing, NightWatchman and DJ LeRoy?
Welcome back. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me. I must have did something okay last time to have me back. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I have to say, this next guest, she is literally responsible for putting it on the radar, because she hit me up. She said, "Yo, Kurt, what's happening? Are we going to do this? Let's do this." And that is none other than Miss Sara Chapman, the Director of Education and Career Services for NMIC. Hey, Sara.
Hello, gentlemen. Thank you very much for having me here. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Excellent, excellent. So, and last but not least, now, funny enough, before I actually met this guy, I knew about the organization because when I headed up RDRC, Rockaway Development, in the Rockaways, we were known as one of their sites. And that can be none other than, of course, Mr. Terrence Byerson of course, Strive International. Terrence.
Hey, what's up? I'm so happy to be here, Curtis. And I got the invite. I was like, wow.
Yes, you showed up. I'm going to make a note of that. So you know what? You and Sara may be invited back. Okay? That's my plan.
Yes.
Uh-oh. Sorry, did I go out for a second?
Yep, but you're back.
Yeah, you're back. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you. Ooh, see, these are the perils that we deal with, NightWatchman. What do you think?
Technology can be your friend or foe.
on that note, Anthony Watson, please tell us your journey. What got you into, let's say, specifically workforce development? Because before the MEOC, you were at Abyssinian Development Corporation. So tell me about that.
That is correct, NightWatchman, DJ LeRoy. I mean, growing up in the Bronx, born in Harlem, raised in the Bronx, I always found an affinity for working with community. And I think that, I started off as we call a camp counselor in the Bronx, and then started, really enjoying working with young people. And then from there, as I moved into, my work, became the director of workforce development for Abyssinian, and then the VP for human services at Abyssinian. It was just, the opportunity to see people really move into self-sufficiency when you give them the tools and the opportunities to do so. So, it's been a passion of mine for years. And, I always tell a story about, my grandmother, who, God bless her, lived into 101 years old, and she just passed away last year. Wow. How she always gave back to the community through church and other venues, and people saw her not, just as a vessel in the community, raised in North Carolina. So, I think I took some of those traits from her and my parents, who passed it along. So I'm always about just really, looking at people succeed, because, our people, need opportunities, man. And I think we need to be in places to be able to provide those if we can, to support that. So my journey, I can go on and on about some of the but just I think it was rooted in my family, and then the people that I surrounded myself with, who made my own community that were not in my family, but was part of my family. So
excellent. Sara, you too. Tell me about your journey. What got you over to NMIC? And by the way, for those who don't know, tell us the acronym NMIC. What it stands for.
Sure, absolutely. So I'll start there. Our legacy name is Northern Manhattan Improvement Corporation, but as Washington Heights and Inwood became more and more gentrified and we saw our community moving over the bridge into the Bronx, they still continued to come back to us for services. So we decided to meet them where they're at, like a good community-based organization. And a few years ago, we opened up an office in the Bronx. So since then, we've gone with our acronym NMIC because Northern Manhattan Improvement Corporation is no longer as encompassing as we are. So thanks for letting me explain that. I would be a little more embarrassed to tell you that I got into this accidentally if I didn't hear that from more people in workforce, which speaks to the need to develop people into this career and do it with purpose and meaning, and not kind of find themselves there after a decade in the community. But long story short, I always was driven to be in a service kind of position. I feel like that's what I need to do with my privilege is extend that to help others. Although I always thought that I would be doing kind of international humanitarian relief. I thought I would be in helping refugees somewhere, setting up camps. I got my degree in international political science, and I taught overseas in Korea. I taught English for a few years. And then I moved to New York, and a headhunter found me on Career Builder and linked me up with NMIC, and that's where I've been since I moved to New York in 2011. I started off as the job readiness trainer. So I was doing resumes and mock interviews with folks, primarily those who were receiving public assistance and had to engage in some kind of a job training program. Over time, we merged the workforce development and adult education departments because so many grants were moving in that direction, but there's also a very natural relationship between adult education and workforce development. And so now we run a series of workforce trainings, adult education. We have trainings for young adults. All of it is with the idea, let me say, when folks come to us and sign up for programs, they're not having the best day of their lives. And we understand that. And we take a strengths-based approach to working with the community and understanding that the process of change is messy, but we are there in partnership with the people who select us to serve them. So we are there alongside on their journey, making sure that they never need the kind of crisis supports that other areas of our organization offer. We're really looking to develop a community, grow them, and make sure that they are empowered to thrive because they are our strength in New York City.
Beautiful, beautiful. Terrence, tell us about your journey.
Whoa, my journey is deep. Let me give you the short version. So I've worked in corporate. I had a career in corporate America for 14 years. I was an assistant vice president. The company was merged with another company. So a lot of people were going to North Carolina or Virginia. And I was one of those people. So I took a package. And then I started working for a union. And that was the first time I worked for two unions, actually. District Council 1707, which is the daycare and Head Start union. And of course, the great union 32BJ.
The big one.
Yeah, the big one. And both of those unions, that got me to working with those unions. It made me feel great about helping people to enrich their lives. And because of that, and as cliche as it may sound, when you do something for someone and it changes their whole life, that gives you a great feeling. So I said to myself, I want to do something like that. So I left the union and I started working for another organization where I was working with the reentry population as well as back work. That was another. So I had two roles there. I came to Strive 6 years ago, and I started as the program director for the Future Leaders Program, which is a program geared toward youth 18 to 24 that has been affected by the criminal justice system. Now, mind you, before this, my whole career, I was coaching basketball. I coached basketball for both of them. So I coached basketball for like 20-something years. So I always had an affinity for the youth. especially youth that look like me. So when I had the opportunity to work with Strive and to work with individuals, youth that have been affected by the criminal justice system, I couldn't let that go because a lot of times individuals that look like us feel as though whatever we did, that defines who we are. That's not who we are. And I don't want them to understand that. I don't want them to know that. And I want them to get the best out of themselves to instill the power that they have in themselves. So that was 3 years. I started in Strive. I did that for 3 years. And now I am the community engagement manager for Strive. And my role is to make sure that we have resources and we have partners such as MEOC, such as NMIC, such as Curtis Archer, because Curtis, to make sure that we have all the resources necessary to provide the wraparound services and the multi-layered needs of our participants. And that's what I like to do. I call myself a connector. So I like to connect with, if we need somebody for mental health, we have that. We need somebody to help with housing, we have that. If we need legal help, we have that. And I just want to create relationships. And I would be remiss if I wouldn't talk about this pin that I have right here. And this pin is for 100 Black Men, which I am third vice president of. And that's another organization that deals with youth as well. And we help Black and brown men become leaders and reach their full potential. So I'm living my best life right now. I can't be, I can't be mad at anything.
Excellent. Well, folks, last time I checked that we're in the midst of COVID, and I do know since the lockdown of March 2020, a lot of changes have happened, especially on the employment front. So, Sara, what have you seen?
Oh boy. Obviously, there was terror at the beginning. Folks were afraid of losing their jobs. I was thankful to see that the governments stepped up, the federal, city, and state governments all stepped up to try to support folks. And then something really interesting happened. We've kind of seen this drastic shift in the relationship that we have with labor. We went from recognizing the essential workers and what they do. And I'm not just talking about medical staff, those who literally kept us alive and have been doing so since the pandemic, but also the folks who kept our grocery stores open, who kept our restaurants running, right? Who really kept the wheels of society running so that folks like me could sit at home and continue to do their jobs. And they didn't have that luxury. But when at the height of the pandemic, with all of the assistance that was out there, they did start to have some more assistance and start to understand what it was like not to live paycheck to paycheck or worry about having to risk their lives to go to work. And so we saw a lot of folks not return to work, even when things were opening up. They refused to do so for low wages, for not enough hours, for no benefits. And I think that's kind of the spot that we're at now. Things are opening up a little bit more now. Folks are starting to get back out there a little bit more. We're seeing more folks engage in our trainings and look for placements. But there's still a standard that they're not willing to go below in terms of what they'll accept for salary or benefits or number of hours. So we're really kind of reckoning this quality of life and a living standard in some of those unskilled labor positions. And I think, as a society, we need to decide if someone who is working full time is worthy of being able to pay their bills without having to assistance, without having to choose between blood pressure medication or food for their kids. And I think, that's what we're seeing is we're having to make that decision as a society. And we are seeing some companies kind of rise to the challenge, pay more wages, offer more benefits, things like that. My hope, of course, is that this is not just sustained, but extrapolated, because I think we've seen nothing but the devaluation of unions and labor over the past 40 to 50 years or so. So I'm really hoping that what we see come out of this destruction is the pendulum start to swing in the opposite direction to really move to a more equitable recovery. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity to examine what we've been doing and not go back to normal, because normal didn't work for enough people.
Wow. Absolutely. Anthony, definitely with the MEOC. So remember, you guys certainly there at the state office building had tons and tons of classes and students. You then, of course, have the lockdown. We have to go to remote. What has that challenge been like?
I mean, it has definitely been a huge challenge when it comes to, or when it came to the lockdown. I think, it really showed the the gap in our communities in reference to who had the resources to be able to remove to like a remote setting. It impacted us where we really began to see. I mean, we already knew, because of the constituents we serve, but it was like, you go from having to be in person to now moving to remote and being able to be in a position to really provide the appropriate resources for people to continue their education. We saw people who had to make real choices, in reference to continuing, although we may have provided certain technology, then there was the broadband issue, not having the internet connection to be able to do it. So you really began where there's some communities who actually thrived during the pandemic because they were already equipped to continue educating themselves. There were others who were really put in a very disadvantaged position. So I think as we talk about it, those gaps in reference to the haves and the have-nots, and I'm sorry if I, put it that way, but our community, it really kind of came to the forefront even more. You talked about racial inequalities. You talked about, just the financial gap, and kind of we were just in a real different space in 2020 and the impact that our communities had to go through, not even just on the workforce development side, but just society as a whole. So we had to kind of bottle all of that up, and then not being able to connect with individuals face to face and people being able to reach somebody and really talk to them during that particular time. It put our communities in an unfortunate place in reference to workforce development. I think that, over the course of the pandemic, we've begun to show kind of signs of kind of moving out and being able to adjust to some of these changes. But I think, our equity gaps are still there, and we need to really begin leveraging ways so that individuals can be have the resources that they can succeed, and we need to provide that for them, right? So, MEOC has definitely positioned themselves to support the students by giving, technology equipment out, looking at broadband or Wi-Fi equipment to give the students, so forth and so on. So we're facing it on, and some of the programs and stuff that we're beginning to offer, it's important, right? As our community, we don't want them to be behind, continue to be behind, right? We need to move them forward. So.
Absolutely. And one of the things, and Terrence, and I heard it in terms of seeing that some of the constituency that you serve also being provided with some of the technology that to really cope and deal. Is that something that Strive has been able to do to provide some assistance with technology for the people you serve?
Oh, definitely. When Corona hit, we had to pivot. So we had to do different. We people weren't coming in anymore. So we provided all of our participants not only with laptops, but with also hotspots for people that didn't have internet access. We provided that with them. So although we weren't live, we continued to thrive virtually. And it was amazing because we didn't really have a drop off in attendance. First of all, Strive is an organization that we provide wraparound services. So we try to get people what they need, not just getting a job. Because you can teach a person how to interview, and now they ace the interview and they're good and they know what to say and a nice resume. And now you got the job. Yet when you go home, you don't have any clothes to wear. Or you go home and you don't have any food in your house. We try to mitigate all of those circumstances before they even get to the interview phase. So we try to get to know because each person is an individual and each person has different needs. So we use the one-on-one approach for each individual. There is no cookie cutter approach to this workforce development field. You have to meet the people where they are, see what their needs are, and see what is best for them in order for them to succeed. And that is what they say it is. I can't tell you when you're successful. You only know when you're successful. But our job is to make sure that you have the tools to succeed. as far as jobs out there, I have an amazing group of colleagues. Shout out to Tara, Jill, Rosie, and the rest that they were banging it out, getting people jobs. As of right now, we have more jobs than we have people right now. And
Wow.
I say that because of the hard work that my team put in. And not only, also when the pandemic started, we did something different as well. We reached out to over 4,000 of our alumni, not just to make sure that they're okay with Corona and make sure their family's good, if there's anything we can do for them, but also to see if they needed jobs as well. So we actually placed people of families of the participants that never even went to Strive, but there was a family of a participant that went to Strive, and we actually helped them to get jobs as well, because we knew during the pandemic people were losing jobs. So we try to be innovative at Strive. You know, we consider ourselves a community organization, and we are here to help the community. It's just not exclusive of, have you been a participant of Strive? Yes, we have as well, but we try to do things for the community. We have food drives. Every end of the month, we are actually today, we are actually giving out food baskets to the community. Anybody can come get one. So, and I'm just saying that's a shout out to the leadership of our CEO, Phil Weinberg, of our executive director, Lakeithia Furby, who is amazing. Like she is an amazing. I've learned a lot from her in this field as well. So, you know, I am like, we are here to serve the community. And yes, we're always trying to be ahead of the curve.
Nice. And definitely, Sara, do tell me about some of the things that you've been able to do, of course, during the lockdown, but let's say some of these wraparound services, does that exist there with NMIC? And also, you remember the technology challenges that Anthony brought up. What's it been like?
Sure. So wraparound services are so important to what we do. We are considered a settlement house, which means from twinkle to twinkle, there are multiple points of access. If you're a person in need in Washington Heights, Inwood, or the Southwest Bronx, we have something that we can do for you. Similar to Strive, there's a food pantry going on at NMIC right now. We were doing that once a month before the pandemic, and we ramped up to twice a month during the pandemic. Recently, we came back down to once a month because we saw the need start to abate a little bit, which is great. Not only did we give out food to the community, but we gave out pet food. We've given out feminine care products. We give out masks with every food pantry distribution. We also have legal services for people who are facing eviction, for people who need immigration assistance. We have a program for survivors of intimate partner violence. We have a weatherization program that performs capital upgrades to buildings so that tenants' utility costs go down, while we also preserve the affordable housing stock that we're fighting to keep people in. So anything that someone needs, we either can do it, or our talented team of case managers have referrals all over the place to provide people the individualized assistance that they need, and to make sure, look, we know if someone is hungry, they're not paying attention in their high school equivalency class. If someone doesn't have a place to sleep, they're not getting there on time for their security training class. And it's unreasonable for us to hold people to that standard when they can't meet their basic needs, right? And so that's where we need to assist folks first. As it relates to technology, we've done what we can. So I'll say that the nature of funding in the city and the state is that once you turn 25, you're really on your own. So we have been able to do more for young adults, those between the ages of 17 and 24, because those programs are so much better funded. For the adults, we've just kind of tried to put together the resources that we've been able to find, throughout the community. But one thing that we did do at the very beginning that now I'm really grateful we've done is we equipped all of our classrooms with a bank of Chromebooks, a smart board, and video conferencing technology.
Nice.
Yeah. So what we're going to be able to do going forward is prepare people for the world of digital work, because they're engaging in that kind of instruction at NMIC. But not only that, we're going to be able to continue offering remote services to folks who want remote services. So we really regret that in March we had to close our physical doors and we lost a lot of people. We want them back. We want to open our doors again and bring them back in. We also found that when we opened our digital doors, we found a completely new group of people who we were never serving before, and it was always okay. And now it's just not okay to close the doors on them. So that includes people who can't safely move around their neighborhoods, people who have victims of intimate partner violence, who can't go to a normal program. That includes parents. It includes grandparents who have to take care of their kids, or their grandkids. So we want to make sure that through that we're being concerted in not just preparing people for the future, but also continuing to offer them services in a way that they have agency in selecting. So all of our folks have an option of how they want to participate in our services. And I think that that's providing people with choice is a way to really get them committed to their own change process and to their own successes. And it just treats them like humans. It treats them like the adults that they are, who get to make decisions about their lives and how they engage in programs like ours.
Excellent. So I guess one of the other things I want to know, and I'm going to direct this to all of y'all. So Anthony, with the MEOC, how do you decide what new technologies or vocations that you may actually provide training for? How do you decide that? Do you look across the landscape and said, you know what, this is going to be a big field, medical billing, medical technology? Is that how you decide? Let me understand your process to decide what to offer.
So the great question. So one of the things that we need to do, or one of the things that we do, is really look at the market, right? Looking at what the trends are in the marketplace, but also looking at what's happening in and around the community in reference to the new opportunities that are coming up. And we gauge it from that perspective. Some programs we've had have been around with us for quite a few years. Others are very new. But I'm always looking at kind of the data points to really talk to what programs we would like to bring. Also, as we look at this work, I look at, what is accessible to our community at the time, right? So what can we use to be stackable, right? So if someone comes in, give you an example of the Marriott Hotel who just came into Harlem, right? We were doing a hospitality program already, but we kind of changed our methods in order to respond to that particular hotel that came into Harlem. So we created a hospitality program that was specifically geared to provide constituents opportunities to get jobs at the Marriott Hotel. So we worked in partnership with them in Upper Manhattan Empowerment Zone, and we really began to streamline, that opportunity. Of course, due to the pandemic, things shifted a bit, and we were still able to really do the program, but we did it remotely for the most part, but we kept the conversation going. So as we know that there's particular trends in the IT world, or healthcare has shown opportunity growth of about, 20% over the next 5 years or so. So we know that, that's an area that we need to focus in on, as well as the governor, when they made their state of the state, mentioning kind of core or key areas that they were going to be looking at under workforce development. So really keeping your ear to the ground and kind of really looking at the trends in the workforce. And I think Sara mentioned the DOL a composition, looking at their trends as well in order to ensure that you do the right thing for the program. One of the things that I don't like is having programs and not being able to connect people to real employment opportunities or into the academic world. And as you know, Curtis, I sit in a different space than the two other guests because they do, community-based organization work somewhat. And mine is strictly around education and academics for the most part when we work with adult learners, So I think that, as we look at this, I'm always looking at how do we connect people to employment and post-secondary education. They have this new thing that is coming out where we talk about micro-credentialing and also badging, right? So how do we begin to leverage that so that individuals not only get some career options, but also get college credits while they're doing the work. So, there's some innovative things that are happening in order to make sure that the participants that we serve are when I talk about self-sustained, meaning that they have the resources, not only just around them, but also personally, so that they're really prepared to go into the workforce, and their market rate even goes up. And I use the term market rate on purpose in reference to when they're selling themselves or showing people who they are, they can say, these are the credentials that follow me, right? This is what I have, and this is what I can offer, because, you know, the goal is that they're in this position, but hopefully they can also move up in their work. So I think, you know, the work that we do is essential as we look at new programming. At this point, I'm looking at some new kind of innovative technology programs that we're looking to kind of bring on to MEOC, similar to kind of our other healthcare programs.
Okay. And Anthony, staying on that note, so let's say in terms of some of this new technology or credentialing that you're looking at, so you look at, let's say, what major corporation in tech may be providing to their workforce.
Absolutely. One of the things that you know came up was that, and I heard one of the guests say this, that we have more participants we have more jobs than participants, right? And I think that the corporate industry are looking for individuals, but people are saying that we don't have enough people who are trained in order to, you know, so we have to, and you know, I have some difference of opinion sometimes on it, but I think that we have to minimize that gap so that there's not those excuses, right? In reference to, because we do have individuals that need to be trained or should be trained in order to get them to where they need to go. So, you know, I think that, you know, when we look at companies, corporate companies, private companies who have these resources, I think that, you know, we need to just continue to show that we have the participants to fit them into those opportunities. So
beautiful. And Terrence, and do tell me now we know that Strive is wraparound services, very comprehensive.
Wraparound services.
So do tell me how you guys arrive at what trainings that you're going to offer besides the basic job readiness stuff. You know?
As Anthony said as well, we follow the market, seeing what's are the main jobs out there. Historically, we have done construction where we're still doing that. You get your OSHA 30, your flagging, your scaffolding, your site safety card. So we give you everything you need in order to get on a work site. Like I said, we have job developers with relationships with different construction companies as well. We also do medical training. So we do training that will get you a job, a non-clinical job in any hospital, any clinic, any doctor's office. So our great relationship with Mount Sinai Hospital, where we train our individuals. They'll go to Mount Sinai. They'll start as a patient navigator or somewhere in the cafeteria. But the main thing is that they're in the door. They're in the door of the hospital. We also have a great relationship with 1199, where we train our individual that does our health and office fields to get clerical jobs at 1199 as well. So we have a lot of major partners. Last year we piloted an IT support where you get your CompTIAA certification. The pilot was great. It worked so well that we started another one this year. So that's incorporated into our trainings as well. So every month we're doing a different training. So this month here may be masonry training. Next month is going to be health and office. The month after that is going to be IT support. We have a great relationship, or we established a relationship with Bronx Community College for our new Future Leaders program, where in that program, after they do the basic job development piece on how to get a job, resume, and all that, now they can choose which field they want to go into. And those fields can include plumbing, phlebotomy, construction, whatever that field that they chose to go into. And that's for our youth. That's for our young 18 to 24-year-olds. So we just try to follow the trend of what's the best jobs out there and try to help our participants get into those jobs. That's not just, we don't like to call them jobs. We want you to have a career. So in all of the fields that we're into, we want you to be able to progress in those fields. And we help you with that as well. And Strive a lifetime organization. A person can have gone to Strive 15 years ago and come to us today and say, I just lost my job yesterday. And all we're going to say is, okay, let's see your resume. Let's see what's going on. What work are you trying to get? And then we're going to help them out. So when we say lifetime, we really mean lifetime. Because, sometimes things in life don't go the way you want sometimes. So we want to be there as a support for everybody who ever came through our doors.
And Sara, NMIC's process for deciding, what to teach, what to train.
We are very publicly funded, so a lot of what we do exists in the constraints of what public funding will allow us to do. I want to thank Strive for continuing to run such a cool construction training program. We used to have something similar until a few years ago, but we can't compete, so we send all of our construction people to Strive, and we started doing security a few years ago. We did that when we saw that there was a huge demand, and this was something that a high school equivalency at least is a good entry point, but you don't need any advanced training after the license. So we do the full licensing, but that also includes customer service. It includes basics of being a security guard, cultural competency, writing an incident report, things like that, as well as all of the employment readiness training and life skills that we build into the program. Beyond that, we have a program for young adults. This is an interesting one because it's called Youth Build. It's a combination high school equivalency and vocational training program. It's operating all over the state, all over the country, and all over the world, but in most cases, it is a construction training program. We saw so many young adults coming in and saying, I want to work for myself, I want to own my own business, but there aren't programs for people who don't have their high school diploma. Even the programs for people who have their high school diploma are geared towards those with more privilege than those who we're here to serve. There wasn't anything for young adults to have a taste or an idea of what it is to own their own business. So we started a business skills training program. We partnered with the SUNY Attain Lab on the curriculum, as well as the DOE's Pathways to Graduation program for high school equivalency preparation. We pay our students a stipend so that they don't have to sacrifice too much in order to be there. They can still, feed themselves during the day. They can still put a little bit of money towards rent or a winter coat if that's what they need, without stressing out too much. But I think what's really interesting and where I've gotten the most excitement over the past few years are some of these public-private partnerships, or just things that are unique and out of the box, not what the government is funding. So Anthony mentioned the example of the hospitality training program that was run at the MEOC, sponsored by the Upper Manhattan Empowerment Zone. NMIC and Strive were both participants in that effort to find people, recruit them, get them a minimum level of training, and refer them onto this, and then continue to provide them with wraparound services going forward. So I think it was the collection of organizations that really created something that was unique, that was specific to the community, and that did so much good for the community. We partnered with UMass a few years earlier to recruit folks in Upper Manhattan for positions with the 1199 union. Another great example is during the pandemic, we partnered with New York Presbyterian, another big player in Upper Manhattan. They needed staff at their clinic sites to be the greeters and screen people who were arriving. So we're playing the role of a staffing agency. We recruited and some customer service training for 20 community residents, only Upper Manhattan and Southwest Bronx residents, who are now working at different facilities in NYP. Similarly, when they launched their vaccine program, we created a hotline to schedule vaccine appointments just for the community. And it was community workers scheduling vaccine appointments for community residents. So I think that when you cut the government out of it, sometimes you just bring together the people who are in the community, who are working in partnership with the community, that's where the real magic happens in workforce.
Excellent. And you know what? I definitely have to say, Anthony, I'm loving what I'm hearing, you guys, because I have not heard crabs in a barrel. I actually hear that there's some beautiful collaboration here.
Yeah.
So was it always like this?
No.
Do tell somebody. Tell me.
And Sara, thank you for actually bringing that up in reference to the partnership, because when we met with UMass, it was, MEOC we said we did not want to do this work by ourselves. I said,
Mm,
there's community-based organizations who are connected in the community that we should get their students, connected to this opportunity with Marriott. So Sara, thank you very much for mentioning that as well, because I think, a lot of times in the workforce world, the resources sometimes are so tight that people are sometimes competing for some of the same resources. And what happens is, you begin to say, oh, that's my competition. And that's what, and Sara reminded me also about the collaboration for youth
mm,
build, because, one of the great things about Northern Manhattan Improvement Corp when I was at Abyssinia, and also work with jobs. So I just think about all of the connections that we've had. Like I worked with Northern Manhattan Improvement Corp at Abyssinia and doing the work in reference to youth build. At Strive, when I was at Abyssinia and some other works, and we did some stuff recently, I did the fatherhood initiative. We did the fatherhood initiative. So I think that the community-based organizations and the educational institutions are finding ways to really connect. And I think, when Terrence mentioned about his work with Bronx Community College, so there's a need, right? Like when Sara and Terrence brought up the food pantry, right? So one of the things I wanted to mention before was, MEOC is doing the academic and workforce development program. Like we're serving 1,940 students a year just in our particular services. We do SUNY Attain Lab where we serve another 750 individuals, and then we have different particular sites. We're not geared at this point to do wraparound services, but we do rely heavily on the community-based organizations who are at the level doing the work in order to really uplift the students. So, we have a list of nonprofits and organizations that our advisors send to, individual agencies. And, we work very closely with Northern Manhattan Improvement Corp in the past, as well as Strive. I know both of their teams very well in reference to their administration. So I think we go much further in a collaborative way opposed to in a competitive way. Now, everyone still also has to maintain their own budgets and everything else and get the resources that they need in order to succeed. And I'm not saying that's not the reality, but I think when it comes to serving individuals in our communities, we try to really figure out ways to do it in a collective way. I will say, though, Curtis, that and then I remember in the 2000s, like the 2010, 2009, we, I'm dating myself. We was a little bit more intentional about trying to, because workforce was definitely beginning to kind of take off in a different space. And I think that we need to really look at that again, Curtis, in reference to being intentional about collaborating on efforts when it comes to workforce development in our community. I think that there's huge opportunities. And I think we deal with some of the same personnel, but our missions are a bit different, right? So I think it leads to additional opportunities. So
Gotcha. And Terrence, I'm going back in time. I'm looking at 60 Minutes, and I'm seeing Leslie Stahl interviewing and doing a walkthrough of Strive with the location when you were on Lexington and 112th, all right, in NYCHA housing. And so I'm just thinking, how have you guys evolved from there, right? And also, like I hear that collaboration, because at one point you guys were, as they say, the big dog in the room. I remember for all your sites, you would also have a retreat in upstate New York. Is that still happening? And also this particular profile that you guys now have in terms of the whole wraparound. Tell me about that. When did these changes for Strive occur?
Whoa, well, the Leslie Stahl, I wasn't there, but I did see it as well. And I did start out in Johnson Project in 1987, I believe. Or was it 84? I know they're going to kill me for this, but we've been around for 34 years.
Gotcha.
And we are, and I think we evolved because of the service that we provided. And word got around that you can go to Strive, and the people there are going to take care of you. You're going to get great jobs. We have been replicated. We have 12 replications of Strive across the country. We just opened up a brand new Strive Atlanta last year or the year before. So we have a Strive Atlanta. We're operating out of Atlanta, but there's the Strive model has been replicated at 12 different countries and 12 different cities across the country. So we do have something that works. And I think the key to any great successful organization or company is leadership. I think our leadership make sure that we are innovative, make sure that we're on a pulse of what's going on, make sure that we are doing things to make sure that our participants succeed. Not only our participants, but our staff as well. We have a lot of staff development trainings. We do motivational interviewing. We do human rights laws, what your rights on the job. So we have to be, if we're going to be in this business, we have to be the best that we can be. And that comes from leadership, understanding that we, in order to serve the people, also have to have the tools in order to serve our constituents. And the partnership with other community-based organizations, MEOC, NMIC, and everybody else, that's important. Like the crabs in a barrel, we can't be doing that. If you're in this business to serve people, to make sure that people get what they need, then you have to. Like the saying said, it takes a village. Somebody may come to Strive, and based on their schedule or their house situation, probably can't come to a class at Strive. So you know what I'll do? I'll say, maybe you should go to this organization or this organization, because I'm here for that person. Because in other words, I'm not trying to, sound like we're the best, when we are the best, but we're going to get ours. We're going to get ours. So you can go. There's enough to go around. Now, but in real life, it's about that person and what do they need. And if I know individuals like MEOC, we send them to MEOC all the time for individuals that want to get their high school diploma. Or when MEOC have OSHA classes, but we already started ours. By all means, go there. When NMIC have classes that we already started, like right now, we're going to send, anybody wants security, I'm sending right up to NMIC, So that's what it's all about. Relationships are important. Relationships are important if you are in this business to serve the community and to serve people. And that whole rivalry stuff, if you trying to rival anybody else, then you're in the wrong business. So yes, I appreciate all of my partners, and thank you for helping to serve our communities.
Wow, who knew that we could have this kumbaya moment going on here? I'm loving this. I'm loving this. I mean, Sara, do you guys, let's say, ever turn somebody away just because? Is there a particular, let's say, catchment area that you guys serve, or everyone is welcome?
Everyone is welcome. If you're living in the 5 boroughs and you're able to either get up to Northern Manhattan or get online, anyone is welcome. We're always happy to serve our local community, but I really think that when all communities in New York City are doing well, the whole city does well. It's good for everybody.
Love it. Love it. Anthony, what about you in terms of, let's say, I know that you have some stuff that requires that, let's say, if you have a certain income level, all of your services will be free. But let's say I don't meet that income requirement, what to do?
So we do have 200% poverty line where individuals got to go through that particular threshold, but we do have some flexibility on that in reference to those individuals that we serve. But if we're not able to serve them, like I said before, we actually refer them over to some of our partnering, community-based organizations. So, but we try to serve as many individuals as we possibly can. But because we are also with SUNY, connected to SUNY, as well as connected to CUNY, we have a few more kind of, and I think Sara Bayer said it, we have a few more layers, I guess, that we have to, abide by in order to get students in. But for the most part, we accept the students that come in. I think, some of the programs, and for the most part, the students we serve, really do fall into the catchment area of the requirement. So, we take them all throughout New York State. We cannot take anyone from out of the New York State area.
Gotcha.
We can serve people who are state residents and who've been a resident for more than a year. So that's another requirement. So,
so residents of Rhode Island need not apply.
yeah, man, no, you can't do that. You gotta be a resident here for a little while at least.
I got you. And Terrence, I'm thinking about the time that you guys offered, let's say, I'm going to say a boot camp approach to job readiness training. You guys still have that? You got to break them down before you build them up. Tell me, man, what's going on there?
Well, we're doing a softer camp this time.
Okay.
Yes, you're right. Yes, that was the approach. But we're still holding people accountable, because if you're teaching a person how to get a job, you have to be accountable. But it's more of a, we do realize that some people have different issues, or some people have different barriers. So we work on that individually. Now, the boot camp approach was basically with our core program. We never had the boot camp approach with the youth, because youth are a different type. You have to understand them. And when I ran my program, I came from a point that I have to get to understand this person. A lot of times when we would deal with youth as older people, we're talking at them and not with them. I believe you need to talk with them. I believe you need to get to know them. I believe, because one thing about youth, if you're not for real, they're going to know it. They're going to feel it. They're going to know that I just want you in this program so y'all can finish, so I can get numbers, as opposed to I want you in this program because you have it in you and you can do better. And if a youth came in, had a problem with lateness, and they came in 5 times late, it's not like, I told you, why you keep coming in late? No, it'll be more like, okay, well, you only 5 minutes late today. You're working on it. That's good. And one day you're going to be on time. Things like that. You gotta meet them where they are. And we do that with all of our participants. But yes, the boot camp approach is not as boot campish, but it does still has some of the essential elements necessary for our individuals to succeed. Yes, Curtis.
Thank you. And Sara, do tell me, in terms of NMIC's approach to job readiness training, what does it look like? Am I going to be beat down, or am I going to get my positive encouragement? Tell me.
I've been really heartened to see organizations like Strive, like OBT, kind of move in that direction. And Terrence mentioned motivational interviewing, and that is the basis of what we do. I mentioned earlier, we recognize that when people sign up for our programs, it's not because they're having their best day. And if they're only 5 minutes late where they were 10 and 15 minutes late previously, that is a victory. We're not necessarily looking for proficiency. We want to honor progress. So when I see a candidate or an applicant who's coming into our program, I want to know, is this candidate committed to their own growth and change? And are they willing to do it themselves? Because my staff are not going to drag them out of bed and make sure that they attend programming on time, because we can't drag them out of bed and get them to a job on time. So we've got to recognize that our clients are the expert in themselves. They're the ones who are going to create change because they need it, want it. There's some desire for it. So we're looking for people who are committed to change, who are committed to growth. Even if that person has all the barriers in the world, I will take that person over someone with fewer barriers who says, I just need my certificate and that's it. I'm here for me. We want someone who's committed to change, because we're going to make that long-term commitment with them. We're not going to do things for them. We're going to impact them. They're the ones who have to do this, because we don't want them coming back again. I do again.
Love it. And Anthony, so please tell me your approach in terms of, is it is it a soft approach, or let's say somebody's late 5 minutes to a class, do you lock the door? What's up?
So you bring back memories. We never closed the doors or locked the doors, but I remember when we were doing Youth Build, we did what we call mental toughness. And you reminded me, and Terrence reminded me of those moments. But no, never locking doors and never beating nobody. We're massaging their minds, right, and their commitment. So that's what I would say. You know, with MEOC, what we do is we do a career development workshop. You know, we have a couple of employment specialists who meet with each student before they actually go into their career track. And in that particular space, to really go over, you know, the soft skills, right? But also like what is your resume look like? What is your, you know, what is your cover letter? What do you have in reference to social media? You know, how are you using your links to social media, things of that nature. So we have a team of individuals who work with each individual that come through our career programs, and also, you know, particularly help them place. You know, I think the soft skill component is a really, really important one, because a lot of times some of our students, depending on which age they are, they come in with different kind of experiences. And I think a lot of times those soft skills are very important to kind of help them sustain employment over a long run, because what we hear from our employers are that, you know, we want people who can really connect with the people that they are serving. So, you know, it was pretty cool. It's pretty cool. But yeah, you did bring back memories, man. You know.
You're on mute. You're on mute.
Night Watchman, thank you. This is why you appeared, because you do. but this has been an important discussion, so I definitely want to get some last comments, and also the most important thing, how folks out there can reach you. Okay, Terrence, last remarks.
Yes. Okay. Well, you can reach us by going to www.strive.org. Yes.
Okay.
My
very nice.
Is, as you see it there, reach me, Byerson, at Strive. On our website, www.strive.org, and that is my Instagram if you want to reach me. And I'm going to say that we are starting 2 new cohorts. Like I said, our youth cohort for youth that are affected by the criminal justice system is ongoing right now. Please send your youth there. We're looking for youth to serve them. We have our other program, which is called Fresh Start, which is for the re-entry community, for individuals that just came home or under supervised release. We have our cohort, our health and office cohort is starting in April. And our masonry cohort is starting in May.
Okay.
We have
excellent
information every Friday for all programs. Hit the website, you'll find the information, and please come through. And at the end of the day, for everybody, let's get this work.
Yes. Love it. Sarah, tell us.
Man, I gotta go after Terrence. That's a tough one. You can email me, Sara Chapman at NMIC.org. No H in Sara. You can visit us at NMIC.org. Our Instagram and our Twitter handles are right there too. Check us out. We are recruiting for all of our programs right now: home health aid training in English and Spanish, youth build, combination high school equivalency, and vocational training. Train and earn. Vocational training pays $500, gives you a Chromebook for young adults 17 to 24. Our security class is going to start up in April. We're doing all kinds of cool stuff. Our high school equivalency and ESL classes, as well as citizenship, are also going to start up in April. Come to NMIC.org, find out how we can serve you. We are back in the office on a limited basis, but we are here to serve the community. Anyone who needs anything. I really only got at the tip of the iceberg of what we do at NMIC. So visit our website and find out how we can work together in the community, how we can continue to uplift the community. And thank you very much for having me. It's just been a pleasure to meet with you guys and the wonderful panel that you've got today. It's good to see everybody.
Beautiful. Anthony.
Hey, so I actually put it in the chat. You know, you can reach us through www.bmcc.cuny.edu/MEOC. You know, this has been absolutely a wonderful session. It was great to see my colleagues around from the organizations. I think, you know, we are particularly open 5 days a week from 9 to 7 right now. So if people are interested, either call or just send admissions an email, and we'll take care of whatever particular academic or workforce development needs that you have. I'm excited about what workforce development will be, especially after being in this pandemic. I just think that our communities, our states, our electeds are looking at workforce development a little bit differently than they did previously, and I think it's going to be to an advantage for all of the great work that the community-based organizations and the academic services do in and around our community. You have a great panel who bring a lot of really good resources, and I'm just happy that you allowed me to be part of this. So thank you.
Absolutely. Night Watchman, take us home.
All right. You've been listening to WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. If you're listening to us on the radio, you might be watching us on YouTube or Facebook. If you are, like, subscribe, share, spread the word. There's some great information on this panel, and someone needs it. So if you could do the favor and spread that information around, we want to thank our panelists for really a great show, and I'm sure you'll see them
you
back
guys
again.
Incredible. Yes, good.
So once again, thanks for joining us on Soul Lounge Primetime.